Hello, friends. I'm out running around doing all the things that adults do during the day that suck. But I needed to ramble for a minute because I just finished listening to the Karen Read retrial opening statements, and so the first time neither Lindsay nor myself were really interested in watching it because the news cycle had been so oversaturated with Karen Read that neither of us could handle anymore. I don't particularly like banging my head against walls, and that's what it felt like. So I decided I'll listen to opening statements. And if I can make heads or tails of this, or, the who, what, where, when, why of this, maybe I'll pay attention to it. And immediately after that opening, we were texting, and we saved our text messages later on when we realized, wow. And we were texting, and I said, if they deliver anything that they just said in their openings, this is going to be a hung jury. And she agreed. We both agreed it's going to be hung, and it was. So I decided I was going to watch the openings here, and we did a gut check. I was like, you need to go watch this. If I'm ever in a pinch, like Kim Possible, call me, beat me if you want to reach me. I want Alan Jackson, because that opening was fire. Fire! I don't care what side of it you're on. It's hard to argue with how compelling he is. And before you get your hackles up, I am neither a free Karen Read or a lock her up. I don't really care either way. I don't like Karen Read. I think she's a terribly unlikable person. But that doesn't mean that I also can't objectively say whether or not I think she did this. And I'm not going to say whether or not I do believe that. But it's really hard to argue with openings like these. And I think the first time when we got that hung jury is because her defense team is very compelling, obviously. They did enough, and they made enough of a dent that this was not as open and shut as the Commonwealth of Massachusetts wanted you to believe it would be. And not only do we know that they're an effective team to begin with, but this time it is obvious from Jackson's opening statement that he did his homework. He went backwards and said, all right, where were the weak points? What was the Achilles heel of our last, approach and strategy? He clearly went back and corrected his errors. And then they were given this beautiful bow-tied gift of Trupa Procta. So the first time, I think maybe the jurors probably struggled with, like any normal person would. You hear conspiracy and bias and corruption, and you're like, okay, that's a very tall hill to climb. And obviously they got there to a degree the first time, but this time they have this beautiful silver platter delivered gift of Proctor's, am I going to put this nicely, permanently being relieved of duty, to really drive that point home and be like, see? I think because they clearly went back, learned from their mistakes in the first trial, at least from the opening statements. The opening statements alone, I think that they have a really, really good, solid idea of how they're going to win this case. And now that they know how certain witnesses might testify, and I can't wait to see how Michael Proctor actually comes into this equation. Like, I'm going to get popcorn and a Johnny Depp mega pint of wine for whenever that happens. Because that's just going to blow my mind. I think this time we're not going to have a hung jury. It may take them a little while because this case is kind of like a big old mess to which heat has been applied. But I do think we will have a verdict this time. And they delivered the first time from their opening statements. So I have every faith that her team will deliver again. And my gut after this opening is that she will be acquitted. Again, does not mean that I think she's innocent or guilty, but that's just how I see it going. Also, I've officially added Alan Jackson to my dream team of lawyers. Like, can you imagine if him and Camille Vasquez just teamed up, or Georgia Kaplan? I'm geeking out over here just listening to the statements. And he called Michael Proctor a cancer. I mean, he came to play. And I had to get that out because I'm in the car like, oh my gosh, I gotta stop. So I stopped. I know the world is very divided on this, so Again, I'm not gonna give you my opinions, but just based on what I heard today, and because we are jury duty, I think they will get an acquittal unless they just completely tank for the rest of this trial, which I don't see happening because her team, they're a bunch of sharks. They're not coming to play. They're coming to win. So I really hope this new prosecutor has his shit together. I really do. I can't wait to see him in action, but that's what I think. What do you guys think is going to happen here? Are you tired of Karen Read? We're not going to do a bunch of content on her, I promise, not unless it's something juicy like this, but what are your thoughts on Karen Read? Do you believe she's innocent? Do you believe she's not guilty? Because those are two different things. Don't forget that. Not guilty doesn't mean innocent. Do you believe that this is like a Dr. Seuss book that has gone on too long and you're like, in a car, in a house, on a boat, with a mouse, with a cheese? Because that's how I feel. But I'm going to be open-minded for this. That's just my prediction. What do you guys think?